Hi all, I'm Tony and this is SV Tapatya. She's a self-built J. Benford designed 31-foot 8-inch sailing dory with a junk schooner rig. I built her myself over a period of some 6 years in my backyard and documented the entire build in season 1 of this channel. After 2 months of sea trials in Denmark, we launched again in early 2024 and have since sailed well over 2,000 sea miles to southern Spain. This channel is all about the adventures of the boat and to see what can be achieved with a low-budget, self-built sailing vessel such as this.
What's happening?
Having cake.
Cake? Who made that then?
You did.
Evie made the cake. What sort of cake's that?
Carrot cake.
Carrot cake. Why are we having cake?
It's my birthday.
Oh, hooray! Good. Let's see what it looks like. Oh, baked in the trusty Dickinson. Looks lovely. Ooh.
Really good.
Ooh. So please excuse the noise of the rain outside falling on the deck. The rain in Spain falls mainly on the deck, it seems. Yeah, the carrot cake, Hazel's birthday carrot cake, was baked in the old Dickinson stove, and perhaps that's a good opportunity to say a few words. And here it is, my trusty Dickinson. And as you may well be aware, sailboat cooking involves a few choices. A few safety choices. Really, you've got to have some kind of burny thing or full-on electricity to cook on a sailboat. So the burning options pretty much can be narrowed down to propane, gas, alcohol, methylated spirits or the likes, paraffin or diesel, and your other option of course is with a big electrical installation. You could cook with electric cooking, but that, I say, involves a very big electrical installation. So let's stick to the burning options. When I built the boat, quite a few people asked me what the regulations were in Germany in terms of checks for the boat, tests, and before I was allowed to launch it. And really there are none in Germany. The freedom for self-builders in Germany is wonderful. But the truth of the matter is the only check that is necessary is if you've installed a propane system. They need to check that the gas system is tight and not leaking. And the reason for that is that propane is extremely dangerous in that it's heavier than air. And if you've got some kind of leak inside a boat or anything else come to that, but a boat in this case, the propane will sink down and collect in the lower areas, the bilge, lower areas of the boat. And if that then gets some kind of spark to ignite it, kaboof goes your boat. And it ruins the boat, explodes the boat, and would seriously harm anybody on board. So propane is the cooking fuel that I think most boats have, but it is not without its issues. You need to be careful with it. The safer options are alcohol, methylated spirits, paraffin and diesel. All of them involve an open fire, however, so there's clearly some risk there. I was fortunate in that I had a Dickinson diesel stove already from my previous boat that I'd shipped back to Germany. The stove, that is, not the boat. And my Dickinson is a Dickinson Bristol. There are various different models of Dickinson stove. Mine's a Bristol. And mine is a very, very old one. I bought it second hand in the mid-1990s, but it was old then. And I now know that it's so old that when I've contacted Dickinson about some things, mine is a weird one because firstly, the stovepipe coming out here is a 3-inch stovepipe. And all Dickinson Bristols have a 4-inch stovepipe, so mine is weird with the smaller pipe. Plus, if I open the burner flap here and we look inside, I'll get some illumination. I'll light it up down there. The burner is not the modern burner that Dickinsons have. They now use a thing called a super burner, and mine is the very, very simple burner. So as I say, my stove is a very, very old one, so I'm going to give you a little talk around this stove, but please bear in mind that the modern Dickinson Bristol stoves are different to this, and one would hope better, because why else would they have changed it? But let's have a look around, see how it works. So what we've got is this fuel level device on the side. It's basically like a carburetor float chamber. So it's literally a float chamber. There's a float in there that maintains the fuel level at the right height. And this is the fuel supply line coming into the float chamber, and that just runs back to a day tank that I've got in the cockpit lockers that's above the level, so it's gravity fed down here, and it does just have an overflow out the top in case anything goes wrong. It goes down to this little tank I've got here with a sight glass on. There's absolutely nothing in it, so there has been no overflow. That's all very simple. And we've got this valve that turns, rotates here, and that adjusts the needle in the jet, or the flow control. And you can set this is the read off line, so set that's a 5, that's maximum fuel flow, and when it's burning I'll have it on 1 to 1.5 normally. So I turn it around to 5 to light it. When it's lit, turn around to 2.5, and then when I'm cooking I'll be on 1.5 to 1. And we've got off when it's off. That's all pretty simple, I hope. We've got a flap here. Down means that the heat from the burner is just channeled straight across here and up the stovepipe. Up, routes it all the way around the oven, and then up the stovepipe from underneath. So when it's hot, when it's burning, we want that up to heat the stove properly. In the stovepipe we've got a barometric damper which just controls the pressure flow in the stovepipe, and that goes up and out and through the deck. The burner is in this flap here. We open that to access it, and I shall light it soon and show you in there. But what we've got in here is a ring that lifts out. I don't normally lift that out. And down in there, this device. This is simply a block of copper. It sits on the fuel pipe in that hole, and the fuel comes up through the block of copper that gets heated, preheated, atomizes the fuel, and then the atomized fuel comes down there, and this is where the burn occurs. And if we look down in there, we see the pipe where the fuel comes up, and a little stand thing that's loose in there which affects the flame a bit, I suppose. Now if I turn the fuel on to full and then we'll wait a few minutes, you will soon see, I hope you'll see, the fuel flow up that pipe down there, that central pipe. I see a little reflection of fuel down there. I don't know if you will. It's coming. It takes a few seconds to get up to level, and there it is. So the float level in here is set so that it maintains the fuel level there just below the top of the pipe. You can just actually see it seeping a little bit over the top of the pipe. The top of the pipe, so it's exactly at the top of the pipe there. I hope you can see that. This means that when we put this part on there and that copper block at the top gets hot, it expands the fuel and it evaporates in that copper block, and it's a diesel vapor that's coming out this pipe down the bottom here. I'll pop that back on there. Make sure that's on properly. There we are, that's on, and that's the way it will be when I'm lighting it. This ring here goes down in there. So normally speaking I don't take that ring off, I just reach inside it and take that copper unit out if I need to. On rare occasions I'll need to clean down in there. Normally speaking everything's running beautifully, you don't need to touch in there, but every couple of months there'll be some build up from the burn, and I need to reach in there. I need to reach in, take that out, and then I have this wonderful 6mm masonry drill that I poke down in there and just clean that out if need be. But I say this isn't a regular occurrence. And it's even possible to put it in the little rechargeable drill and just run that through. Just to clean it out. That's the cleanest it's been for ages. Good. This can also be taken apart. There's an Allen key in there that you can take out to access the various holes, but basically it's pretty clean. So we'll pop that back in there. Like that. That's ready to be lit. So to light the stove, the procedure is that we turn the fuel meter and knob round to number 5. We put the damper flap there down and we pour a bit of methylated spirits in there. And pour that in there. Another thing I haven't mentioned is that it has an electric fan in it. This is the control unit for the electric fan, on, off and speed regulation. So we have a little bit of speed on the fan, and then we will light it. And give it a bit more speed on the fan. Put the lid on. And now I'll turn that down to 2.5. Now these things aren't instant. In fact, they're nowhere near instant. So that will now take a while to warm up. It needs to run like that for a little bit. And when I feel the top plate warm enough, I will then lift up the damper rod and turn this one down to 1.5. So it's a fairly archaic device, let's face it. Wonderfully simple, but you know, if you want to do some fast cooking, this isn't the door. This isn't the device for you. Let it warm through for a couple of minutes. Can you hear that sort of surging burning? Is the sound of the diesel starting to burn. If we look inside here now, look at that burn though, that's pretty good. And that's getting pretty warm. I'll lift up the damper there and I'll turn this one down to 1.5, and then I shall wait for a while. Yeah, I would now say I'm making a cup of tea, I'd now fill up the kettle and put it on there, but it won't be hot for quite a while. We've got a temperature readout for the oven here, which at the moment is indicating nothing. We'll wait a while and come back and look at that. And just while we're waiting here, we also have, if we were cooking at sea, we've got some pot clamps here. Which clamp the whatever pot, kettle in this case, in position. And that's all very good. Can't move anywhere. Perfect. So it's taken me 50 minutes roughly to download the footage and edit it in the software, and I'm back now at the stove 50 minutes later. Oven temperature's up to 300 degrees, bit over Fahrenheit. Kettle still hasn't boiled, look, although it is very close. If I open it up, it's steaming pretty good. And frankly, if I was in a rush, I'd make tea out of that. It's certainly hot enough for coffee. And I know a lot of tea drinkers would think that's sacrilege, but that would do me. That'd be hot enough for tea. So, as I said earlier, it's not fast. From lighting up to hot is not fast. Once it's hot, and it's now hot, it will cook quickly. If I put a frying pan on there with some oil in it, it'll be a minute until it's sizzling hot. So that'll be fast now, but from cold up to hot, it's slow. So what I tend to do is I get up in the morning, I wake up in the morning, I get up, I light the stove, put the kettle on and maybe a pot of porridge, go back to bed for a while, read my YouTube comments and do my Duolingo, and then, you know, 3/4 of an hour later, the porridge is ready. Well, the porridge is probably ready a bit earlier. The tea's ready or the coffee water's ready, and get up and enjoy it. The big advantage in colder times, and it's not warm here in Spain today, is that it also heats the boat. So it's lovely and toasty in here, and in the morning when it's a bit nippy, you've lit the stove. By the time your kettle's hot enough to make your morning drink out of, the boat's also lovely and warm. So that's wonderful. And when we were in Canada in the winter, we had snow on the deck, this stove burning 24/7, and it was beautiful down below. And so you don't need an additional boat heater. It does the job of all the warmth that you need. Wonderful thing. It's also very economical. It doesn't burn much diesel. For the amount of, and I cook quite a lot, but I've put in, I can't remember the last time I put in 5 litres of diesel. It's a few weeks ago. It really doesn't burn much diesel. So it's very, very cheap to run. However, as you will now be saying, you need a degree of patience to cook with one of these things, and it's not for everybody, that's for sure. What we're now going to do is a little experiment. This frying pan is completely cold, good thick iron frying pan. Pop that on there. I'm going to put a bit of olive oil in it. I'm going to wait. It is now 6. It's now just coming up 9 minutes past 6. I'm going to wait 2 minutes and come back. So here we are. It's now, it was 12.5 minutes past. So we're a little 2.5 minutes later. I've got a bit of beaten egg here, which I can use in my dinner tonight. So I'm going to make some nachos. Just chuck that in there. And clearly, if I'd waited another couple of minutes, it would have been hotter. But it's fine. It's fine. So my point being, once it's up to temperature, it's pretty fast. It's the getting up to temperature that takes time. Yum yum. So that's pretty quick. It's only an egg. And the last thought, perhaps, once it's up to temperature, you don't actually need the fan. You have to even turn it all the way off, it will still burn. Well, I prepared my dish of nachos. I'm about to chuck that in the oven. So we've got this safety catch on the oven here. You have to open and wedge there if you're doing it with one hand. Oven opens like that. Easy enough. What else do you expect? In we go. And this, you see on the side, we've got this catch for the oven, plus a safety catch up there, so it's all, can't fall open. Oven's nice and hot now. Look at that, nearly 400 degrees. Well, a bit dark, I suppose, for you to see. But that's in. Give that, what, at 15 minutes, I suppose, for nachos. Doesn't take very long, does it? And pull it out, see what it looks like. That looks all right. Well, I'm sure I can hear you asking the obvious question, What's it like in the summer, Tony? And the answer is, in normal summer conditions, it's fine. If it's a really hot summer day, 35 degrees or so, it does make the boat a little bit warm down below, it's true. But for normal summer conditions, perfectly fine to cook. You obviously have hatches open, get a bit of air through the boat. But I've had no issue this year in the warm conditions we've been in cooking on this stove. And we've seen it slow, but I love it. On another one of our hikes. Only 6 kilometres this one, so should be easy. Plus it's October, so it's nowhere near as hot as it used to be. This is obviously the old residential part of Ayamonte. Very nice. Oh, it's a sad day, isn't it? Evie's leaving. Oh, she's got a rucksack all packed up.
Yeah.
And we're about to get on the ferry to Portugal, across the mighty river. The ferry's made out of wood. Cool. It's the next leg of our multimodal transport. Woohoo! Smells good, doesn't it? Can you hear the sea?
I don't think I can. The bronze sea I can.
Something tells me this isn't very deep.
Passageiros devem entrar na linha número 1, comboio regional com destino.
Oh, that's sad. She's looking good. Tonight on the trusty old induction hob, got a fried rice, got a pot of curry, some of my favourite shredded lettuce, and some curry in there. Going to serve it up. It's looking pretty cooked. Time to serve, I think. And I really like this induction hob when I'm plugged into the marina, so that way I get to use a bit more marina electricity and less diesel, which of course is clean, it's good, and it's great.
You need a top up on your mind?
I think that is. And I just bought this brilliant new pan in across the river. What's in Villa Real de Santo Antonio or something like that it's called. An induction hob friendly massive pan. A ladle. Ladle. Better not sing too much of that, Bob will be on to me for copyright. So there we go, it's a windy one today, at least the sun's shining again. We've had just a couple of days of rain now. But that's my review, nerd's review of the Dickinson stove. As I said, I love the thing, but it's clearly not for everybody. But that's the thing, isn't it? The choice of how you're going to cook on a sailboat isn't an easy one. Propane turns a lot of people off. I have my reservations seriously about propane. Hazel's cooking on an alcohol stove, methylated spirit stove, and that is literally an open flame. The beauty of the diesel is whilst it is a flame, it's enclosed in the closed unit, so there's no flame out there inside the boat. Paraffin's the same thing as Hazel's, it is the open flame. And if you want to go electric, you've got to put in a big installation with lots of probably lithium batteries, lots of batteries of some sort, massive inverters, that whole palaver, extremely expensive and not without its issues, I feel. So you've got to make a choice. None of them are perfect, and I say I'm happy with the diesel. Plus, of course, have that extra backup of the induction stove that I plug into the mains when we're plugged into shore power, and of course an electric kettle, which I can also make a cup of tea with very quickly when we're plugged into shore power. So for me, the Dickinson gives me that off-grid cooking possibilities, despite its obvious disadvantages. Double with heating the boat when it's chilly in the winter, and it's, as I've said already, it is plenty enough to keep the boat really nicely warm in proper winter. So the bonuses or the benefits outweigh the disadvantages to me, most certainly. Clearly for you, it's your choice. But we're leaving it there. Next week we'll be heading up the river, I do believe, and exploring the Guadiana River. As ever, massive thanks goes out to the lovely people who support us via Patreon or PayPal. Thank you for watching. See you then. Bye.